This right here is the Himiway C5, and this is one of the coolest e-bikes that's on the market. And today we're going to do a full video reviewing this, but we're going to do it in an awesome way, having as much fun as possible. We're going to be ripping around and seeing what we can get into with this bike, but let me tell you a little bit about it first. This is definitely a moto-inspired e-bike that has a really awesome overall look to it. Now I'm going to show you a couple of the things that stand out, including the battery that's attached underneath the seat. That's a 960 watt-hour battery. And this Himiway C5 is powered by a 750 watt geared hub motor. It's also got a really awesome back shock as well. Now this is a 20-inch wheel bike with fatter tires, but it also has a 7-speed Shimano derailleur attached to it, so you can also pedal this bike. Stopping will be no issue with hydraulic brakes in the back and also in the front. And as we work our way up, we will talk about the Moto style triple clamp suspension fork that gives it a really aggressive look. Speaking of aggressive, you can check out these Himiway by Kenda tires that do a really good job of both being on the road and off-road. You can see one of my favorite parts that's on this bike. It actually has a cup holder that is built into the top part of the frame, which is super cool and convenient. It has a really nice digital readout that's attached to the crossbar, and it's only flickering because my camera's frame rate is so high. On the right side of the handlebar, you can go through all 7 gears with the thumb shifters here. But on the left side of the handlebar, it has the thumb throttle, but it also has the ability to control that readout. And as we scroll over, you can see on top of the fork there is a knob to control the compression of the fork. It also has a brake light in the rear and a headlight that works really nice in the front. Now we are taking it on the road and going on an adventure, and I was the lucky one that was able to ride this one first. And the first thing that I noticed was how awesome the suspension works and how you can just go from on-road to off-road just like that. But along the way, when I was riding across the grass through the parking lot, I found a really cool setup that had an opportunity to make a jump happen. So we decided to have my brother jump off of his bike and onto the Himiway and give this one a try, and it worked perfectly. And after that, he was just in full fun mode, doing burnouts everywhere he possibly could. I'm not kidding, he went on the asphalt, straight to the rocks, just ripping around, just pretty much terrorizing anything that came in his way. And this next thing is something really cool that we stumbled across. We found this really cool looking jump that was made out of a drainage pipe. You could actually hit the concrete slab and be able to hit it like a jump up and across. And he had so much fun riding it. And it didn't end there. We ended up finding a really cool root that was sticking up out of this tree that I figured we can jump into the slope of the drainage ditch. And Maddie wasted no time trying to do it on it, and he landed it no problem. It actually popped up really nice with the suspension, and he landed really smooth. We also found these trees that were in a line, and he decided to do a slalom race going through there and see how fast he could make it. But the bike actually handled really well. It didn't take very long for us to find another jump that had another concrete slab on it, but this time it had a landing really close on the other side of the sidewalk, and it worked out really smooth. We also stumbled upon a really cool setup to test the suspension, and this is the first and only time we lost the cup the whole day. And I was actually really impressed that was the only time that it came out the whole day. But you can see how rough that test was. It had no chance. But the truth is, it didn't spill at all, and my iced coffee was doing just fine. But we ended up taking the cup out and trying to finish this test, not only as a test for the suspension, but also for a balance test for my brother to make it all the way across.
That was great.
On our way to the skate park, we ended up stopping in the parking lot to get this shot of the bike to show you all just how cool the Himiway looks. But now into the skate park, Maddie wasted no time jumping into the pump track and cruising around, hitting a couple jumps off the side of the hips. He even ended up doing a nice drop into the Euro, and the suspension worked perfect on it. The next thing I decided to do was challenge my little brother to go around the bowl. I really wanted to see how this bike performed going around the bowl corner, turning around, pumping into the corners, and it did a really good job. Maddie was even able to hit his hip and continue on with the rest of his run, and we were able to get some really cool shots of him pumping through the bowl corner. And as my little brother finished up his run through this bowl, you could see he had this huge smile on his face, and he was having so much fun riding this bike, and here's his reaction.
That's really fun. If you could get this thing in a bowl, oh man. You can sit in there hours, I'm not even tired.
That's so cool. So Maddie definitely approved, but Maddie is a pro rider and I would expect him to be able to handle the bike well. So I decided to jump on the bike and do a run through it myself and see how the bike actually reacted with somebody who is not that great of a rider being on it. Now the reason why we did this was to pretty much test out the suspension, to see how it reacted as I was sitting on it, and it did a fantastic job. The suspension was working perfectly and I had no problem going through this pump track and feeling safe and in control as I was riding around it. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about that with my instant reaction right now. This is a really cool e-bike, especially the fact that it has suspension. I think that is the ultimate game changer. And not only does it have suspension, but it's actually like good suspension. It's not bottoming out, it's actually reacting nice. It's a really nice setup. I just like how well built this bike is. It's been really cool. So as we were leaving the skate park, I decided to do one more test of me riding over one of the small parking blocks to see how the suspension was while I was sitting down. And it actually did a surprisingly good job for it. So far this bike's got my seal of approval. But we're actually going to make our way to another really cool spot where I'm going to test out how it handles in the sand, but also hopefully be able to find myself an alligator. And as we are making our way over to the next spot, I figured it would be a perfect time to let you all know that this Himiway C5 has up to 80 miles per charge, so you're able to have a nice long day of cruising this thing around, having as much fun as possible. But as we're cruising up over this bridge, I figured I would take another opportunity to show off the overall styling of this bike, especially with somebody riding on it. We ended up getting ours in white, but it also comes in a gray. I really like the way this bike looks. I think it has a really edgy look to it, where it does look like it might be a motorcycle, but since it has the pedals and it's small enough, you could tell that it is a bike. But having such a long motorcycle styled seat, it does a really good job of being comfortable for a lot of different riders, whether they are taller or they are smaller. So I'm pretty confident that multiple riders of different sizes getting on here will be able to ride this bike very comfortably. So we made it to the next trail spot, and I figured I would get another really nice shot to show you the overall look of this bike with a nice trail setting in the background. But now I'm going to get back on the bike and we're going to go for a ride down a sandy trail. You can see I had to go around this gate here and I navigated that no problem at all, completely in control of the bike. Now heading off into the wilderness in search of an alligator, you can see there's a lot of like sugar sand that I'm going to be riding down, and the bike did a fantastic job being able to handle it no problem at speed. I was actually riding this bike as fast as it could go using the thumb throttle, which is about 20 miles per hour, and I had no issues at all in the sand, going perfectly straight. The tires did a really nice job sticking to the trail, and I felt really confident and in control. But as I made it to the spot where we saw the alligators before, there was none here this time. I even took my time looking back and forth, and there was nothing there at all. Usually we see the little babies going through there, but I guess that they were hiding today. So we ended up getting back on the trail and heading on back towards the parking lot. And along the way I was able to find a bumpier part of the trail that was less traveled, and now this really got to show off the suspension going through there. And just as expected, it did a fantastic job with no feeling at all that I was going to get bucked off the bike. It was perfectly in control. So as we're leaving the trail spot, I figured I would give you my overall impression of the Himiway C5. And the first thing I want to tell you all is that this bike has really high-end components, and you can tell as you're riding it. It feels comfortable, it feels solid, and it also feels safe. An e-bike that has this many top-of-the-line features, especially at this price, is really impressive. And I am so excited to be able to take this bike on another adventure soon, or even just ride it down to my favorite lunch spot. Now if any of you are in the market for an e-bike that does 20 miles per hour using a thumb throttle, gets up to 80 miles per charge, has front and rear suspension, offers a really comfortable ride, and looks good doing it, I definitely recommend you checking out the Himiway C5. And I'm going to make it easy for you to check it out because I'm going to put the link in the description of this video. So I want to give a huge thank you to Himiway for sending me this bike, and also trusting me and my brother for doing this review for him. So just one more reminder, go check out himiwaybike.com or go to the link in the description of this video, where you can not only check out the C5, but you can check out the other high-end e-bikes that they offer, including something I've never seen before, the kids' electric bike called the C1, which goes 7, 13, or 15 miles per hour, and which goes 45 to 50 miles per charge. So you can see they're doing very progressive, innovative stuff, and from our experience filming this video, Himiway is legit. So that's it for this one, guys. I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace.